Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Dental Handoff. I'm Dr. Kelly Tanner. Today I have with me Lisa with two eyes. More. Lisa, thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Oh my gosh, well, you're doing so many great things. And you guys, Lisa is in Canada, she's in Ontario, and things look a little bit different there in her province and all the provinces of Canada than it is in the US. So I'm excited for people to hear your story. But Lisa, we always ask first, why hygiene? Like, what drew you to it?
So it's actually funny. So I chose hygiene because I thought it was going to be easy. And boy was I wrong. I probably chose
Hmm.
it I probably chose it for all the wrong reasons, if you will. I was in grade 12. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to do 4 more years of school. Hygiene at the time was a 2-year program. Now in Ontario, it is 3, but at the time it was 2 years. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do 2 years of school, dentist. And of course, it was kind of like I feel like a lot of hygienist story. It was like dentistry or nursing, right? You knew you wanted to do healthcare, but you didn't really want to know what. Excuse me. And for me, I was like, "You know what?" I'm like, "Dentists don't work night shifts. They don't work Christmas Eve. They don't work weekends," sorry. And again, too, I just didn't think I had 4 years of school left in me. So I chose the hygiene route, and boy, was I wrong. I I didn't really know what I was getting into, but I feel like a lot of hygienists were the type A personality, and I'm like, "You know what? I'm gonna finish what I started. I'm in it now," and I just kinda fell in love with it once I was in it. Yeah.
Did you get in on the first try into hygiene school?
I did. I did a year of pre-health sciences after high school because again, too, I was still kind of feeling the waters, figuring out what I wanted to do. But I didn't take assisting first. I got right into hygiene. It's again, probably the benefit of where I am is I live in Northern Ontario. So, for those of you that are kind of familiar with Canada and Ontario, I'm about a 4-hour drive north of Toronto. So it's a bigger center, but I think that's how I was able to get in right away is because there's just not as much demand for the schools up here as there are the ones further down south. Um, so
Gotcha.
I so I got in first try and, it was a whirlwind 2 years. It was a lot of information packed into a 2-year program, a lot of clinical, I'm sure there was a few tears shed at some point along the way, I'm sure, but, definitely worth it and came out the other side and super glad I did it.
In Ontario or in Canada, I guess in general, are there associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees? How does that work?
You can get, my course I was considered a diploma program because it was 2 years, so I have a 2-year college diploma. But you can get a bachelor's in dental hygiene now. I don't really think it was a thing when I graduated in 2006, so I'm going on almost like 20 years next year.
Wow,
But actually a friend and colleague of mine is actually enrolled right now in the dental hygiene, bachelor's degree at George Brown.
cool.
So she's going through that, so that is an option now, but it wasn't a thing when I went to school, or it wasn't a well-known thing, I guess, when I went to
Yeah,
school.
because
Mhm.
in the US, it's associate bachelor's, and then so there it sounds like it's diploma bachelor's.
Diploma bachelor's, yeah, and I think and now that the hygiene is a 3-year, I believe it's an advanced diploma is what they call it when it's 3
Oh,
years. Yeah.
interesting. Okay, and then are you guys do you all graduate able with the ability to make all the same money? Or does a bachelor's degree hygienist I don't in US, it's all the same, like, you can have an associate's, a bachelor's, or a master's, and you're in clinical practice, you could make the same.
Yeah, if you work in clinical, I feel like it would be the same. The advantage to having the higher education, the bachelor's level would be as if you wanna be an educator, to
Mm,
work, to teach in the dental hygiene programs, or you would need that bachelor's level, to be an instructor, like a theory instructor. To be a clinical instructor, you don't need the bachelor's. Of course, if you have it, it would be an advantage to you, but they would look at it more for clinical instructing. They want you to have a bachelor's degree. It doesn't necessarily have to be in dental hygiene, but to be an instructor, they want you to have that bachelor's degree.
gotcha. Do y'all have
Mhm.
master's degrees there?
Yeah, you could get a master's. I don't know if masters of dental hygiene is a thing, to be quite honest, but yeah, there is master's degrees here, yeah, as well.
Okay, cool.
Mhm. Yeah,
Now you know. Now everybody knows. That's
yeah.
awesome. It's and it's interesting also how it translates into your different environments that you can practice in because your practice acts are very different there and
Mhm.
can do, what you can't do. I mean, you can do more than you can't do. I mean, compared to the US. Did you go straight into clinical practice after you graduate, or did you do something different?
I went straight into clinical practice, and it's kind
Mm.
of a funny story how I ended up because again, here in Ontario, dental hygienists do most orthodontic duties. I know in some provinces in Canada and even in the States, the dental assistants do a lot of the orthodontic duties, but here it's all hygiene. So, when I graduated, that was where, my husband, now boyfriend at the time, bought a first house. There was an orthodontist office literally right down the street. So, I was like, "You know what? Just for fun." So, I walked down with my resume, and he hired me on the spot. So that's how I got into orthodontics right out of clinical hygiene. So my first job clinically was in ortho, and then that's where I found, like, my true calling and my true passion. I love everything ortho, and it was just a kind of a fluke how I proximity was how I got in, was because he was literally right down the street. He was looking for a hygienist, and he was basically like, "When can you start?" So
You
that
know,
was the
what's
time.
it's funny and interesting in my study of group dynamics in my PhD program, a lot of things in our lives have to do with proximity, our
Mhm.
jobs, our relationships, our friendships, in the groups that you're in. I mean, if you think about maybe where you met your boyfriend, now husband, or
Yep,
where we all got our jobs, it's because we're in the proximity of them and or the groups that we surround ourselves in. So that's so cool.
yeah.
And probably, Lisa, I remember when I learned about orthodontics when I was just a baby hygienist when I was 22, and my doctor took me to like 100 hours of continuing education about functional orthodontics. It just changes everything and the way that you see it and the risk factors that you're involving with the
Mhm.
patient's care, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. It was such a culture shock to me. I mean, I think going into clinical practice from hygiene schools, culture shock for all hygienists. We're used to
Oh, yeah.
having 3 hours to complete a patient or a client, and now we have 1. Well, I went from 3-hour scaling appointments to 15-minute orthodontic adjustments. And, it's like we did do, like, orthodontic modules and semesters in school, but it's not, it was so, so different. But I absolutely loved it. I love the fast pace of it. I love the just everything about it. Mhm.
So then you took that knowledge and what you learned there, and then where did you go from an orthodontic practice?
So it was funny. So I was in that practice for 5 years until I had my son. But that office that I worked at, he had his Sudbury base office, but he had 2, he called them satellite clinics. So we
Mhm.
went to Espanola, which is a little town about 45 minutes, outside of Sudbury. I don't know, Manitoulin Island is a pretty big, popular tourist destination for anybody that's listening that's maybe heard of that. So it's kind of close to that area. And then we had another office in Parry Sound. So we traveled. So every 8 weeks, we would pack up our chairs. We had a little traveling roadshow, and we would go to those clinics. But once I had my son, I didn't want to travel anymore.
Mm.
I didn't want to be gone because when we went to Parry Sound, it was over a weekend, and I didn't want to be traveling anymore without my little baby at home. So I left after I finished my maternity leave. I got hired at another office in town. That's actually the office I'm currently at. So it was kind of it was more the it was Monday to Thursday, actually, we don't work Fridays, unfortunate for that, like 8 to 5. So that's
Yeah.
why I took that role instead. No more traveling, no more evenings, things like that. And then that's where I still am. So it's a short story, I guess, but that just goes to show
You've
you,
had,
like.
you've had 3 clinical jobs essentially. That is unheard of, that's awesome.
Right, yeah, well, and it's so funny because, again, too, in the small community that I'm in, the orthodontist that I worked with was really good for there was 3 orthodontists in the town that I worked at, and so the staff it's such a niche market that whenever another office needed somebody, we kind of office shared almost, so there was a time where I worked 2 days a week at one office and 2 days a week at another because another one of the hygienists it's a female-dominated profession, so mat leaves are a very common thing, so when one hygienist would go on maternity leave, we kinda shared and job shared each other's roles
That's
even though we
cool.
were at different offices, so I've been worked at, yeah, 3 clinical offices, all orthodontists.
Yeah, I feel like that job sharing has just become more of a common thing in the US in the last, like, 7 years or so. It wasn't a common practice, but now people are doing that if the employer
Mhm.
obviously spouse. That's good that you have that support because you can be part of a smaller office, but feel like you have the community and you have the coverage to do things
Mhm.
that you need to do that you want to do,
Yeah.
and sometimes that you need to do to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Get that flexibility.
Yeah, because when you're in a small again, small private practice, I don't know how many of you all feel like sometimes it's hard to take vacation or that you have to take it I mean, in some offices, you have to take it when the doctor takes it, that's a requirement, and
Mhm.
it's not always the best time for the rest of your family or whatever else is going on in your life, so that's
Yeah.
awesome. Where
Yeah.
where has all of this experience led you and what you're doing today?
So it's funny. So working in ortho, here in Ontario, we have our quality assurance program. So I always chose, we have a couple options to prove our competencies in every year. So I always chose the portfolio option. So we do our, obviously, our continuing education. It's like an online, it's called the Smile Portal. And that's where you input all your education, kind of what you learned. You have your bibliographies in there. And then every so many years, you would get audited. So our governing body, our college, would you'd get an email in January and you had a year to prepare your portfolio and then you'd have to submit it the following year. So you kind of never really knew when this was coming. So that's why you always had to keep it maintained. And then you kind of figured though every about 5 years, you knew it was going to come down the line. So the first time I had to get audited, this was before the computer was a thing and it was paper and it was a Word document and I was printing everything and everything went well. So then it was my turn to I got called to be audited and again about 7 years later, and it was all new and it was all online. So I was like, "Okay, you know what?" So that's when I reached out to RDHU, which is a continuing education company here, that they have portfolio coaches. So they would literally have someone that would walk you through this process. So I was like, "You know what? Let's do it." So I reached out, I got my notice in January. So I reached out in January to RDHU. And at the time, the wonderful Beth Parks was my assigned coach. So she reaches out to me and she goes, "Don't worry, Lisa, we'll get this done. Like you've got lots of time." And I was like, "I know I have lots of time. I have a year, but she thought I had to submit at the end of January. She thought I was one of those last minuters coming through saying like I need to submit.
Oh,
And I showed her my stuff, and anyways, she was one of those people that the first time I talked to her felt like I'd known her forever.
yeah.
And then so after we did our coaching sessions, she's like, "Can you stay on at the last call for a little bit? I just wanna chat with you." I was like, "I would love to, sure." So we're chatting. She goes, I spoke with Kathleen Bocrossi, and because she's been wanting to do an ortho program at RDHU for a long time, but we don't have anybody that has the experience and the knowledge to build it. Would you be interested in doing this for us?" And I was like, "Absolutely, I would." So that's how I kinda got in with them, so it was kind of a fluky thing, but it's funny, I'm a big advocate of investing in yourself because you need to do the continuing education, you need to and I mean, yes, there is a financial component to it, because I remember too when it was I think it was $500, and the girls I work with thought I was insane. They're like, "I can't believe you're spending $500 for your portfolio," and to this day, I'm like, "That is the best $500 I ever spent." Because if I never did it, it wouldn't have led me to where I am now with my ortho programs at RDHU and the speaking engagements and just the networking and the people that I have met throughout that experience has just been phenomenal. Mhm.
Wow. Yeah, life is not just coincidence, is it?
No.
It connects all the dots because, again, if you never would have said, "I need to do this," you've not had the opportunities. So you guys follow your nudges, like Lisa says, take care of yourselves, invest in yourselves, and $500, I mean, $500 is still a lot, depending on what it is, but what's the value add, and what else does that give you to leverage what you need to take the next steps in your life, your career? And it's not only that, it's to not prove to yourself, but to help you understand that you can do anything and to
Mhm.
take those next actions on your behalf, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, and, my colleague and Joe and I talk about this all the time about spending the money to go to conferences, go to events, be social. I mean, I feel like they're coming back now. COVID did put a little bit of a damper on all of
Yeah.
that, but it's so many hygienists, like I'll say, oh, and again, to where I'm in a little bit more of a remote community, and a lot of the conferences are down south. They're in Toronto, so I have a few here that are really good. We'll go and we'll carpool together. We'll share hotels, things like that. But anytime I ask other people to come to this, they're like, "Oh, was your doctor paying?" Or, "Oh, my doctor won't pay for that." And I'm like, "Well, why can't you pay for that?" Like, and it's just they don't see the I don't know. I'm so like I said, I'm such an advocate of investing in yourself and spending the money to go down and get the knowledge, get the education, but also meet the people, to network, to get out there and connect with other hygienists in the field and learn about them and learn from them, from their experiences. And that's my big proponent,
There's
my
something
advocate of.
about I mean, you can be in someone's energy like you and I are right now, but being in their physical energy, there is
Mhm.
nothing that takes the place of that, and going to grab a coffee or an ice cream or whatever you're grabbing, right? Or just sit and chat between sessions to say, "Hey, I found a seat. You wanna come chat for a few minutes?" And, I mean, I feel like that's how, Carrie Lepacek and I, got to connect. We were on a podcast together and always doing this at conferences. We're like, "We are going to sit down together, and we're actually gonna,
Yeah.
reserve 30 minutes to be in each other's energy." But it makes it you're intentional about your development, and I think
Mhm.
that's what you're saying, is that's the intentionality of saying, "Me first," and Lisa, also, you practice that too with your personal training as well.
Yes, yes, that is the other hat that I wear. I don't do so much of it anymore. I'll do, like, friends and family, I'll train, but it's something to incorporate into my role, because again, too, we need to one of the lectures that I have is it's I'm a big advocate of taking care of ourselves so we can take care of others. Because if you don't my one of my favorite sayings is, "If you don't take time for your wellness, you'll be forced to make time for your illness."
Mm.
I love that saying because it's, people, they don't see health and wellness and fitness as a priority. Or again, too, I have a presentation and I always have the slide and I have the saying that I don't have time is the adult version of the dog ate my homework, and
Oh, that's
I
good.
love it, and I always get some moans and groans usually from the audience when I say that because they all say it, and I'm like, it's instead of saying I don't have time, say it's not a priority, and it will change your mindset so quickly when you start wording things like that. And it kinda gets you a little bit, but it's a different mindset. So instead of saying next time you say, "I don't have time to stretch, I don't
Mm.
have time to work out." We were talking earlier, a lot of hygienists, they don't even go and drink water throughout the day, It's
Yeah,
just, "I don't have time." But if you tell yourself it's not a priority, it hits a lot different. And then that's when you might make things like that priorities.
yeah, so what is a priority to you?
Yeah,
And you can't take care of other people if you're not good, if you're not whole.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Period. The
Mhm.
end. I mean, how are you gonna give advice to someone to take care of themselves if you're not doing it?
Yep, yep,
Right? I
exactly.
mean, oral health, overall health, nutritional counseling, all the things, we barely take a lunch some days when
Yeah.
we're in clinical practice. I mean, barely we were talking too that we barely take a bathroom break. I mean, we take one a day and we're like, "Yes, I took care of myself." And we feel bad because we're running behind, or maybe our patient sees us and they think that we're running behind for something, but people I mean, we're humans.
Mhm,
We're humans, and I think with the advent of COVID as well, Lisa, and you tell me your opinion, I think that there is more of a focus on that aspect of taking of self-care that
mhm.
was a quiet opportunity that came out of and from COVID, that COVID era.
Yeah, I do agree with that, and I think that might be one of the more positive things that came out of it is people are taking more they're just becoming more aware of the need to take care of yourself and even I feel like even the burnout factor. I don't know what things were like where you were, but we were shut down for 3 months, and it was, it was kinda that weird, um like, that it was that weird I feel like at the beginning, it was kinda that weird twilight zone because we didn't quite know what was happening or when we were going back or what was gonna happen, and then we kinda got into, like, a little bit of, like, this is an exciting comfort zone, like, we would joke, like, "Oh, it's like being on maternity leave, but not having a baby." I mean, it's not you know, I had kids at home, but they weren't babies, so it's like my house was never more organized in my life, and then it kinda got into that weird, eerie zone again of, like, "'Okay, this is going on a lot longer than was anticipated," and then going back to work, I feel like, again, hygiene being a female-dominated profession, I feel like a lot of women were like, "Wait a minute, I really enjoyed that time at home with my kids. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that flexibility." So I feel like that's where a lot of these part-time roles are coming in, and we talked about, like, job sharing, it's like taking those and temps and things like that, that work-life balance, I feel, is really, come highlighted more since COVID happened.
Yeah, because before that, I mean, I have 3 kids. They're 21, 19, and 15, but I remember feeling the guilt when I would have to leave work. I mean, one of the reasons why I chose hygiene was obviously because I loved people and I wanted to care for people and change people's lives and all of that, and that I wanted to have a family one day. I mean, I knew this when I was 17 when I chose the profession, and did I really get to do that? And because I remember living through it and being in that solo practitioner's office and feeling such guilt and the furrowed brow when they were like, "You're taking time off for vacation." This is before I had kids, and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Who else is gonna take it? I have to take it," right? But then, like, when your child is sick because all of that, I mean, especially when you have more than one child, it just seems like they pass it, and then it evolves into some kind of other sickness, and they're like this petri dish, and it's like, "I swear I do wanna work here, but I don't know what's going on in my household." So you've gotta you
Yep.
get to choose those priorities, but it was that mom guilt that I experienced, and I think that even before COVID, or maybe it was around then, I'm like, "Listen, I'm the only one who's gonna advocate for my children, and if I need to choose, then there's a choice that
Yep.
it's gonna need to be made. Hopefully, I can choose both, but hopefully you don't make me choose that."
Yeah. Yep, exactly. And I feel like I'm fortunate, well, my first job I worked at, I didn't have children at the time, so it wasn't really an option, but I still work for him to this day, he was a family man himself, he's always worked with all women, like, mat leaves, and yes, you'd get the occasional, like, "Okay, eye roll because you had to, leave early to go pick up your kid because the school called," right? And he dreaded that, and this is again before cell phones were that then they would call the office, and, like, the receptionist would come back and be like, "The school called," and it was like, "Oh," and he was just like, "Which one? Which one has to go?" But I mean,
Yeah.
it's and having him be a family man, he understood. It is what it is, right? When you're a mom, you gotta bomb.
Yeah, and these are great questions to ask during your interviews, ladies and
Yes.
gentlemen. Not just in theory, but how do is it family first? Is it what's the culture like there? So, thank you for
Absolutely.
talking through that because that's, just as you were telling your story about how you changed it up when you were traveling on weekends. I feel like
Mhm.
as females, we're the ones that get to make those decisions a lot of times to make those job changes.
Yeah. Yep.
And those some of those uncomfortable conversations. So it's more than only a career, it's how you're evolving and knowing your own worth as all the different things as we are in our lives that we get to embrace those. So this professional journey, I think, it's there was a saying that has something to do with a business owner that it becomes way more than a business. You get to learn so much about
Mhm.
self, I think, being a hygienist and a professional and leaning into how you're evolving. At least I know that we were just talking too that you have a podcast now. So that is part of your new evolution. Tell us about your podcast.
Yes. So again, our podcast is called RDH Canada. So it's myself and my co-host Joe Siegfried. Another perk, I guess you could say, that I met through RDHU. He has the
Yeah,
myofunctional therapy course there.
so cool.
Wealth of knowledge. He has, again, in Ontario, we can own practices. So Joe has a hygiene clinic. He owns a hygiene practice in Toronto. And I travel quite a bit. Like I said, when I drive, it's about a 4-hour drive for me to get from here to Burlington. And so I listen to all these podcasts, such as yours, and all of these other lovely podcasts. And so it was one of those things where we were chatting one day and he's like, we should have a podcast to talk about hygiene in Canada because most dental podcasts are based out of the States. And things are so different up here. Like in Ontario, fingers crossed, it is coming down the line. They are in talks of getting it. We cannot give local anesthetic right now as hygienists in Ontario.
Really?
Yes. So, but they are putting that forward to change that. So it'll probably still be, I don't know how long, but hopefully very soon within my clinical career, anyways, they will change it that we'll be allowed to give local anesthetic and x rays as well. So we can take x rays, but we can't prescribe them or diagnose off of them
Hmm.
yet. So, like I said, hopefully those things are coming down the line. But again, too, just to connect hygienists across Canada. We were fortunate we had a hygienist from Newfoundland on our show to talk about what it's like in Newfoundland.
Oh,
And
cool.
again, because from province to province, it varies in Ontario or in Canada as well. So that's why it's just really neat to talk about how it varies from not only from Canada to America, but it's nice to talk about how it varies from province to province as well. And just again, connect and meet people and network and share some information and some stories.
Right, and through that comes resources of, "Hey, are you experiencing this pain point? Here's what I did.
Mhm.
Here's what got me through that. Connect with this person or this product or this organization that really helped me see through this and really supported me through this time."
Mhm.
That's what
Yes.
I feel like who that's actually, I think, what hygienists do. We want the connection, and so for us to start a podcast and want to help and connect to other people, that I think is just who we are.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
How many episodes are you guys up to now?
I think we're up to about 6 or 7. I'd have to double check. But we try and put one out the first Friday of every month, is
Okay.
when we kinda release. We're doing monthly ones right now, but we're learning. We're learning the curves of the first episodes might be a little bit rough around the edges. They're fun to listen to, though. We almost kinda look at it as, like, bloopers almost because there's some funny little bits where we're not professional editors or anything like that just yet, but we're getting there. But they're on, anywhere you'd find podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any podcast streaming platform, you'll find us at, RDH Canada.
Yay!
Yeah.
It's, just the growth and the, what again, understanding who you are, leaning into the bloopers, being comfortable with the bloopers of saying, "Can we cut that?" And then
Yeah.
you're, like, not cutting it. I mean, 'cause I have a gentleman, Mark, thank you, I know you're listening, but he helps to, edit and cut, and then there's a few times where I forgot to tell him to cut it, and it didn't cut, so we're sitting there talking about who knows what,
Yeah.
you know? Who knows what on the podcast about some annoyance that somebody's bird or something was squawking, who knows? But
Yeah.
it's part of the journey, and people, I think, really enjoy that and the authenticity behind it.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's just a very similar to this, casual conversation styles, so yeah, there are same thing. There are times when a noisy truck drives by or something, and it's like, "Oh, well, it's in there now," so it's real.
Yep, real time.
Yep.
So you are teaching at RDH, you have your podcast, you're also practicing clinically. Tell everyone what you're teaching at RDHU.
So I have 3 programs at RDHU. My first one, my baby was orthodontic, fundamentals. So that's course is more for hygienists that are interested in transitioning into orthodontics, or say they, are where a lot of GPs are doing ortho and they're in a GP office and say their dentist is doing more and more ortho and they wanna learn more about it, so that's more for them. So it's a 2-day course. The first day is theory, and then the second day I have a total hands-on component. So we do bracket placement, we on typodonts, we do ligation, we do bonded lingual wires, all hands-on, all on typodonts. It's just a really fun hands-on day with all the stations, and, so that's at RDHU at their beautiful facility in Burlington, Ontario. And then the course I'm actually leaving today to go down, to teach tomorrow, which is my advanced orthodontics program. So my advanced orthodontics program is more for hygienists that are already working in orthodontics, that want to expand their scope into a little more, specific things, difficult cases, functional appliances. I talk more about that. And then we have a little bit of a hands-on component in there as well. And then my third course is clear aligners. So it's all about attachments, kind of the biomechanics behind aligners, how they work, the different brands. I have an intraoral scanner there that we can take scans on each other and kind of learn the ropes of scanning. I give kind of tips and tricks on how to maneuver that. It's just, again, just 2 really fun days. Again, you can do all 3 courses. You can do 1, you can do 2. They do have a bundle where you can bundle them together and do all 3, or you can take one the other, and it's just a lot of fun. It's a nice casual days there, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun getting to know everybody.
So cool. So cool. Yeah, and every time you get to meet more people, you get to network more, and
Hmm.
it just keeps on giving to you personally and professionally.
Yeah, I love it. It's truly my happy place when I go there. I say I'm in my happy place because it's just I love meeting, and I learn something every time I go too. Because again, too, I have a room full of hygienists that have different experiences and knowledge levels, and and I learn something from them as well.
Yeah. I find that that's one of the best parts about teaching is that you learn so
Mhm.
much of like, "I didn't think about that. I've been teaching this for 20 years. What?
Mhm. Yep.
Who would
Exactly.
have thought about that or explaining it like that?" It's just a aha. And,
Yeah.
what a gift. Well,
Mhm.
Lisa, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule and all the things that you're doing, and thank you so much for all that you're contributing to the profession, and hopefully you guys, if anything, you took out of this that you can do anything you want, and the path that you go through is for you, it doesn't happen to you, it's for you,
Mhm.
and it's all a gift, and sometimes where it seems like that setback is actually your step up or your setup for success. So,
Mhm.
Lisa, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm like I said, very flattered to be here. Big fan. I listen to all of your episodes, and
Yeah, thank
it's
you.
so wonderful to be here and to meet you.
Yeah, likewise, Lisa. I hope that we run into each other soon in
I'm
person.
sure if you are ever in Canada, you let me know.
Yes, I definitely will. I was there, a few times last year, but, coming up in 2026, my travel was a little bit slower intentionally this past year for some other things,
Yeah.
but thank you again. And to our audience, thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you for listening, participating. I always ask the favor to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Go ahead and do that now. And if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and press that little like button right there and leave a little comment like, hey, whatever, because it tells the algorithm that we are relevant and it feeds us to other people who may enjoy the content as well. Thank you so much for all the lives that you touch every day. Love you guys. See you again next week. Thanks again, Lisa.
No problem. Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.